Welcome to the Fish House Nation podcast presented by Catch Cover, your home for ice fishing news, tips, stories, and strategies. And now, your host, Chris Larson.
Hello and welcome to the Fish House Nation podcast. We're finally through all of the shows we recorded at the St. Paul Ice Show, and we're producing some fresh content. I'm always proud to bring you, the listener, some of the best experts in ice fishing, but today we're doing something completely different. My guests are definitely not experts. They are my friends, Jason and Tony. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks a lot, Chris.
Thanks for having us. We are decidedly not experts.
Yes, these guys are not experts, but they bring a fresh perspective to the show, and I wanted to have them on to discuss their first impressions of Wheelhouse fishing. The three of us recently booked a trip with Randon Olson from Lockjaw Guide Service in Otter Tail County, Minnesota. It was the first time sleeping in a wheelhouse on the lake for Jason and Tony. And what'd you guys think? First impressions?
Well, for me, it just exceeded my expectations. I'd seen a little bit about it on YouTube, and I was excited to come out and try it, but it was absolutely amazing. I've never fished in such comfort, and I felt it just allowed me to maximize my time. I traveled to fish there, and it allowed me to maximize the time on the ice there. It was just incredible from when I woke up in the morning till right before I went to bed. It's one of the few things I've done, as an adult that exceeded my expectations, I'll be honest.
Jason, we'll get back with that, Tony. But Jason, what were your first impressions?
I second that. I was really impressed with the versatility of the whole wheelhouse format, as a jumping off point if you wanted to fish other lakes in the area, or if you wanted to pop some holes just outside the shack in the direct vicinity there. I mean, the options were endless, and as Tony said, you're constantly fishing. So, I've been fishing for a long time, usually in a spring trip and staying in a resort, something like that, and you're coming off the water at the end of the day and staying in a hotel or something like that. And I felt like we were always fishing. It was amazing.
Tony, this trip was kind of inspired by you. What went into the genesis of this fishing trip? You're a Midwest boy, but you're living in California now. What went into this? Like, we got to do this type of thing.
Well, to be honest, as I get older, I'm thinking there's a lot of things that I'm not able to do consistently, but there's a lot of things I want to do. And so I just kind of decided this year I was going to make stuff happen. So I reached out to Jason, who reached out to you, and got that trip booked. As I said earlier, I was watching a lot of the YouTube trying to get my fix that way, and it just made me want to do it even more. After a while, the videos weren't doing it for me. So I thought it was now or never. And so we just went out and did it.
Jason, we showed up on the lake the first day. You're walking into the house. What were you thinking when you were walking into the house as far as like the size and the way everything was laid out? What were you thinking?
I was really struck right away by, for one, Randon's professionalism. I mean, he was so available and just really welcoming, glad to see us. He had everything ready for us, ready to go. The wheelhouse itself was just super clean. It was laid out well. I think I remember walking in the first point. It's a fairly small, it's on the smaller end of the spectrum as I understand it for a wheelhouse. But I was impressed by the amount of room available inside there. And obviously, as we started unloading gear, it filled up quickly. But I was impressed with the cleanliness and the facilities, like a little kitchenette, restroom and everything. The bunks were comfortable. I mean, it smelled nice too. I was amazed. It was kind of like a knotty pine cedar. So it was really a nice construction.
Yeah, we stayed in we kind of hate to say this here on the Catch Cover Fish House Nation podcast, but we stayed in an ice castle. It's a 17-foot trophy hunter, 17-foot plus the V, but not one of those giant houses that I think a lot of people think of. But the way the layout was set up, the three of us, very adult men, at least when it comes to physical specimens, fit in it quite easily.
It was cozy, but we made it work, and I never felt like we were cramped.
I agree. Yeah, no, there was enough room to do what we needed to do, and yeah, it was very efficient in its layout. Absolutely.
So we kind of got the best of both worlds when it comes to wheelhouse fishing when we were out there. We used the house as a base. We went first day we were out there, and the second day we kind of ventured off and went onto another lake to Randon. So we used that house as a base to go out and fish that evening bite. But then we came back. We got back to the house. The fun started there, cleaning fish, cooking, eating fish, and still fishing. I mean, Jason touched on it, Anthony, but tell me about what you thought about it. Like we were always fishing.
Well, that's just it. The fun never ended. I mean, it was unbelievable to me that we went out and we tried the other lakes there, and then and we did great. And any other time that would have been like the end of the experience, and I would have been completely satisfied. I would have been like, wow, what a day! Just reflecting on it. But to come back in complete comfort and to clean fish in complete comfort and to be able to cook right there, and at the same time be catching more fish, and as they're being cleaned, you're just giving them to the guy to clean more, and we're eating them. It was unbelievable, and then the fun didn't stop till it was like 11:30 at night when the bite finally stopped. And it just, when you think the experience couldn't get any better, it got better. That's what I loved about it. It was just so many. We were ice fishing in like 3 different manners, throughout the day. You'd wake up in the morning, you're kind of groggy, but you're able to make coffee right there, and you're catching fish. From the minute you wake up, you haven't even brushed your teeth and you're catching fish. And then, as the day progressed, we went on our little, our trip and caught fish in that manner. And then in the evening, normally when you're just going to relax and maybe, guys would get on their phone or whatnot, you're still catching fish. It was just unbelievable to me. I was just tickled by it.
Yeah, Randon had our house sitting on a nighttime bluegill bite, which is, I've never heard of a nighttime bluegill bite, but yeah, that first night, I think 11:30, that was your time, Tony. I think we went to bed about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning that first night. The fish were biting right up until then.
Oh, right on. I'll be honest, I wasn't looking at my watch. I was just estimating.
What was it like, Jason, for you sleeping in that house?
I really got a kick out of the rattle reel experience. And a hot tip is if you have rattle reels in the wheelhouse, you want to take the top bunk. Those things would go off in the middle of the night. It was like 3, 4 in the morning, and I could hear them, and I would just start shouting orders and then roll over and go back to sleep. While the guys in the lower bunks took care of the fish.
That's great advice. Great advice from a wheelhouse professional now. Sleep in the upper bunks. You don't have to wake up for the rattle reels.
Right. Especially the second night. I mean, you really gotta have a strategy.
Tony, you're an early riser, and you kind of brought it up earlier, but you were the first guy up both mornings, and you were up there out fishing while both of us were still looking at our pillows. What was that like for you to get a chance to kind of rule the roost in the morning and kind of do some fishing and drink some coffee and everything before everybody else even got going?
Man, I loved it. I loved it. When you're at home and stuff, that's our quiet time before the kids get up and all that activity start. And it was kind of like the same experience for me. I could kind of just ease into the morning and pick the hot holes because everyone was in the bunks, and just do my thing. And just it was just a nice, it provided all the solitude I wanted, and you're catching fish, and so I was just trying to keep it quiet as I reel them up, tighten my drag a little bit so my drag wasn't going out, waking you guys up. And when I was releasing, I'm trying not to get too much splash to get you guys up, but I loved it. It was a magical time because I was getting up before the sun was even up, and so just opening the curtains up, and just as the sun rose, it was a great experience. And that, as I said, that was one of like the multiple different ways we were experiencing the ice fishing. You know what I mean? From that first morning experience to that late night, I just felt like I had maybe 4 or 5 trips in one. It really was neat.
Kind of part of the quintessential wheelhouse experience, though, is the restroom facilities. And it was something that Jason and I had conversations about a few different times for the trip and how we were going to handle that. But we get there and come to find out Randon had a dry toilet in the restroom there, and that was a different experience. Tell us about that, guys.
I thought,
It's pretty handy, actually. It's pretty modern, pretty sanitary. I wouldn't be afraid to take my my wife and daughter on a trip like that. It can get a little gamey in there at times, but I think you told me, Chris, that some of the wheelhouses are now designed with doors that open towards the outside, which would be great. But yeah, I didn't have a problem with it at all. I thought the facilities were very comfortable and modern. We didn't have a shower, but we're only out there for probably 36 hours.
Yeah, a lot of those houses that you're talking about, the doors on the outside, those are going to be your homemade houses that a lot of the guys will be running on Lake of the Woods. But the cool thing about that dry toilet, if people haven't experienced it, and I had never experienced it before, is you kind of do your business in there, and there is a very heavyweight style bag that kind of wraps it up. If you've ever had a diaper genie at your house, that's kind of how it works. And was able to seal things off pretty well, and you kind of get that scent throughout the house as business is being done. But as soon as it was over, it kind of dissipated and seemed to be sealed up quite well in that bag. So kind of a cool deal. Tony, what were your favorite parts of the trip? If you had to narrow it down, kind of what were some of the highlights for you?
One, it was I was only out there for 2.5 days, so I wanted to maximize the experience, and it was just the camaraderie of being in I don't want to call it a clubhouse, but we're all there, we're all comfortable, we're all having a good time, and you're talking. We weren't all like on the ice at separate holes, just over our own hole, and your buddy's 50 yards away, and you're yelling back and forth. I just felt there was a lot of interaction. It was real gregarious. It was a lot of fun. That's what I enjoyed. The camaraderie it allowed, the pure comfort too. I felt, because we're for a lot of the time I was just essentially fishing in what I'd wear around the house, and so the pure comfort just kept me fishing the whole time. I wasn't getting wore out. I really enjoyed that, and catching a lot of fish helped too. It always kept us interested, and it was new experience upon new experience for me. I hadn't used electronics, I hadn't used a camera before, and it certainly hadn't been in a wheelhouse, and it was phenomenal. I felt it. I don't know how others feel about it as far as how cold it was. To me, it was extremely cold outside, but I wasn't wanting of anything. I was extremely comfortable. And I enjoyed it thoroughly. I know I'm going to be doing it on a yearly basis, if not more. It was one of the highlights I've done in recent years, in whether hunting or fishing. It's really an outdoor highlight for me. I enjoyed it.
Jason, what were some of your favorite parts?
The chance to reconnect, like Tony said, the three of us used to do trips in the past, and then career and kids and things have all kind of taken us in different directions over the last 15 years. So it was really nice to just hunker down in a shack like that out on the ice, and just have so much FaceTime with each other after so many years, to reconnect and have so much fun while we were doing it. So I think that was the best for me. I think if you're looking to have a trip for ice fishing, whether it's you're taking your kids or your family, I mean, it's such quality time, because like Tony said, it's so comfortable. You're not out there fighting the wind, hollering across the ice at each other. Ice fishing, when you're hole hopping and stuff like that, can be kind of solitary, and you can certainly do that from an ice house. But we actually hit a cold front on this trip, so it got significantly. It was like topping out about 0 degrees each day. We spent a lot of time in the wheelhouse, and Randon had it set up over a nice productive spot, so we were catching fish the whole time. Really made it enjoyable. I think the other part would be just Randon. He was really a wonderful guide, and super knowledgeable, easy to talk to, and just so pleasant to be with. So just a great expert on the local fishing scene up there. Really enjoyed it. I'd like to go back and fish with him again sometime.
Yeah, we went out a couple of evenings with Randon and fished from the portables for 4 or 5 hours each evening, and Tony got to spend one night with him, and Jason another evening when we were out there with him. So you guys got some really good quality time with him as well. If we were planning this today to go out, in 2 weeks, Tony, is there anything you would change? What would those things be?
Honestly, probably the only thing I would change would be to book more days. I when I got a little down when I had to travel back. I was missing it greatly. So I would have done it for more days. Other than that, I don't know that I would have changed anything. It was really the ultimate experience for me. It was great. It was great in every sense. So probably just book more time.
Jason, anything you would change?
Yeah, I would second that. I think just from the fact of it's so much fun, but also midwinter weather patterns can be kind of fickle in the upper Midwest. So as I mentioned, we hit a pretty strong cold front. It was probably the coldest blast of the season that hung out for maybe 2 days. And, just like in the summer or the spring, if it's hanging out about 50 degrees and suddenly it's 35, it shuts the fishing down. It didn't really shut down our bite necessarily. I mean, we were in good productive spots, and Randon had the tips and techniques to keep us in fish. I would say just from that standpoint, just take the most time you can for a trip like this, so that you're getting more opportunities to fish different sort of presentations and weather conditions.
All right, guys, you're planning on going on a trip in 2 weeks. What are some must-haves that you think people should have when they're going to do a trip like this that maybe they might not think about? Jason, I'll let you go first this time.
Just get a good understanding of what the guide has available, so you're not bringing too much extra stuff in the way of like camping equipment and stuff like that, and groceries, because they do generally have a lot of good things on hand, and a lot of the sportsmen that are staying and with guides like this are paying it forward and leaving some, whether it's shore lunch, breading, or oil to fry fish in. I mean, it's sometimes that stuff is available to you, so you don't really need to bring it. And then also I found, I had my truck and we were parked basically right on the ice next to the Wheelhouse, and you can save a lot of space by leaving a lot of those storage bins and stuff in your truck and out, keep them out of the Wheelhouse so you can move around and, tend to rods or rattle reels or whatever the case might be.
Sure. That's a good tip. Tony, must-haves for you?
To me, the must-haves are good friends, because I think when I got there, you had everything a guy could want aside from clothing, from as far as electronics and rods and reels and the jigs and whatnot. It was fantastic. So
Yeah.
Have some good friends. That helps.
Yeah, try to schedule your trip with your local ice fishing podcast host.
Honestly, and then aside from that, just have your clothing spot on if you're going to be fishing outside the Wheelhouse and you're going to face conditions like we did. It was nice to have a really good equipment. Jason set me up with some bibs, some Eskimo bibs, and gosh, they were comfortable. It really, when we were outside the Wheelhouse, had complete comfort. I was amazed at just how well they were engineered. And as you're fishing out there, you'd find a new pocket here, a rag there, and I was just amazed. Really well thought out.
Yeah, I'm wearing the Legend suit. You guys got the Legend bibs, both of you, for the trip, and I mean they are very well designed to do exactly what they're supposed to do, and a really good thing to be wearing when you're out there.
Other than that, no, I can't think of anything else. Yeah, just good friends, good company, and having nice equipment really topped it off too. It really made the experience just top notch, as I said many times.
And you guys introduced something to me during that trip that I'd never experienced, and that was the coffee. So you guys have a nice blend of instant coffee that I'd never had before, and I got to tell you, you kind of you got me hooked on a different type of coffee now, Jason. I think that was your doing.
Yeah,
tell me about this coffee.
You can thank your friends at the Meat Eater podcast for that. The Starbucks Via that they talk about on the podcast, it's really terrific.
Yeah, so if you're looking for a good Wheelhouse coffee, don't want to bring the brewer out there, just want to boil some water on the stovetop, that stuff, the Starbucks Via is, I mean, it's as good a cup of coffee as you'll get anywhere, and easy to make and very delicious. So thanks for bringing that into my life, Jason.
Glad to do it.
Hey, is there anything that I didn't ask you guys that you want to bring up before we wrap up here?
I just would like to thank you both again just for such a great experience. And I would encourage anyone who's even considering it to do it. Because again, it just exceeds your expectation, and you don't realize just how fun fishing on the ice can be when you have that as a jumping off point. And just if cost is a factor at all, just consider you're just maximizing your time on the ice. You're not there for 6-8 hours. You're there for 18 hours fishing if you have it in you.
Yeah, for me, it was just a good opportunity to shake the winter blues. And it has elements of all the good things about winter, like spending time in a cabin or ice fishing or, good times with friends. I mean, it had everything, a little piece of all of those things. Yeah, and I thought it was really affordable, too. It wasn't out of line, and I hope to make it an annual trip.
Yeah, it was awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming on the show, and thanks for going on that trip with me. It was awesome to have you with, and I had a blast, lots of laughs, and just lots of good times with you guys. And like you said earlier, Jason, it's just something that as life has kind of marched on over the last few years and things have happened as far as kids and career and everything, just don't get a chance to do it enough. So it was fun to spend time with you guys. Really appreciate it and appreciate you coming on the show.
I appreciate you guys very much. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Tony. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks for listening to the Fish House Nation podcast presented by Catch Cover. For more ice fishing content, visit our blog at catchcover.com.